Welcome to 28storms.com. This is your tropical weather update for Saturday, October 22nd. We're still monitoring the weak low to the southeast of the Windward Islands, and we also still have that tropical low located just to the east of Honduras and Nicaragua, although the confidence in this system actually developing has decreased ever so slightly over the last 24 hours. As of this time yesterday, the Hurricane Center was giving the system a 60% chance of development. Those odds had actually increased to 70% by yesterday evening, but now the models are starting to actually back off, and the Hurricane Center is now placing those chances at 50%. Here is a look at today's visible animation. Here's our weak surface low to the southeast of the Windward Islands. It really doesn't have that much in the way of convection associated with it, and you can see the reason why as we switch over to the water vapor. There's really a lot of dry air over the eastern Caribbean, but the one thing that has verified over the past day is the fact that this upper level low is beginning to move more toward the north, so the models did handle that correctly, and this will allow this tropical disturbance to continue moving west-northwest and eventually make its way into the western Caribbean. This very well could set up the possibility for competition between that central Atlantic system and the one that's already in the southwest Caribbean if they get too close together in the medium range. Here's a quick look at what's occurring over here in the southwest Caribbean. We can make out a broad, weak, low-level surface circulation here, although much of it is exposed to the east of all the significant convection. Notice that much of the convection is hugging the coastline, and there are two other factors that could limit the potential for development. As of right now, the main core of upper-level ridging is located right over Honduras and Nicaragua, so we're still seeing some northerly shear along the eastern coast of Honduras. However, the shear may continue to lessen just a little bit as this surface low begins to propagate a little bit toward the northwest. So if it becomes a little bit better vertically stacked underneath that upper level ridge, it will have some potential to develop. However, another problematic factor for this system is that the models are now showing a little bit too much in the way of low level ridging over the southeast United States. Now this is a look at the upper level water vapor, so you really can't see that surface ridge all that well. However, the models are entertaining the idea that the ridging will persist for a couple extra days, and that could force the system to interact with Central America too much, therefore reducing the potential for development. Before taking a closer look at the model guidance, this is just a quick look at the ASCAT pass taken late this morning. This shows the weak surface circulation quite well. You can see it right around here, and once again, this is the main problem. The upper level ridge is displaced ever so slightly to the northwest of where we're seeing that area of low pressure, so we're seeing some northerly shear on the eastern end of that upper level ridge. I would also like to mention really quickly that as this upper level low begins to move more toward the north, we have that second pocket of upper level ridging that you can see here to the southeast of the Windward Islands, and much like the tropical disturbance, it's also going to propagate west-northwest into the central and western Caribbean. And as we go into days 5 and 6, we're still probably going to have favorable upper level winds over much of the Caribbean to the south of Cuba. So we're just going to have to wait and see as to how much more west the system moves. Of course, if it goes over the inland terrain of Central America, the prospects for development will be down near zero. But if it does find a way to stay over open waters, especially the Gulf of Honduras, then we could still have to monitor this area as we go into the middle part of next week. This is the 12Z CMC model forecast. We can see both of our systems. This is the one located just to the east of Nicaragua, and this is our tropical disturbance nearing the Windward Islands. And as I set the 6-day forecast into motion, you will find that the disturbance near Central America just stays too close to land to really do much of anything. But by day 6, we would still have to monitor the Central Atlantic system that by this point would be just to the west of Jamaica. This is now the 12Z run of the GFS model, and much like the CMC, it keeps our Western Caribbean system just a little bit too close to Central America, but even once it gets into the Gulf of Honduras, it does strengthen just a little bit before making a landfall near Belize. And also our system that is now over the Central Atlantic, it actually diminishes that vorticity max and is no longer trackable by the time it gets into the Central Caribbean. And the last model we will show this afternoon is the 12Z run of the ECMWF. This is the 850 millibar vorticity forecast. This is the current time, so you can see both of our systems, one here in the southwest Caribbean, and this is the one over the Central Atlantic. As we advance this into 24 and 48 hours, notice that our surface low to the east of Nicaragua will propagate toward the north and remain just barely over the open waters of the southwest Caribbean. And also by this point, the windward tropical disturbance is passing over the islands. And as we work our way into Tuesday and especially Wednesday, we see that our Western Caribbean system is still fairly close to the coastline, but still over open waters, and it would not take much for this system to strengthen into a minimal tropical depression or tropical storm. So we still definitely need to be vigilant regarding that system, especially if it stays just a little bit more offshore than the models are entertaining. So despite the lack of model aggression this afternoon, I'm not letting my guard down. We still need to keep a close watch on this system. And as I talked about earlier on in the video, as we go on into next Thursday and Friday, both of our systems are in fairly close proximity to one another, and that could limit the amount of convergence going into either low pressure area, so there may just be a little bit too much competition. But again, this is an extended forecast, so a lot can still change. So over the next 3 to 5 days, flooding and heavy rainfall could be a concern for portions of Central America, especially Honduras and Nicaragua, and we will still just have to monitor that system for any sign of development as long as that surface low can remain just offshore. As for the other system, I'm not expecting much in the way of development as of right now, but the Central and Western Caribbean will continue to be the focus over the next upcoming week. So thanks again for watching 28storms.com videos, and please stay tuned for more throughout the remainder of the weekend.